Hey, I want to do a cookie. Oh, sorry, I don't care about none of that. I just need to record something to maybe get my thought out, just so I can put together a thought. So I'm trying to figure out the significance of a garden. Okay. So I like how this y'all gonna keep me in Isaiah for whatever reason. Okay. Now I'm on the third verse in this last section. Crazy, right? Okay. The section says the new creation. The day before it says, "For behold, the Lord will come with fire and with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger and with fury, and his rebuke with flames of fire." Overall, the Lord's coming down, basically because the sin that we create is not okay. For a long story short, right? Then the second day it says, "For by fire and by his sword." I'm also on the phone, don't mind me. Well, he's asleep on FaceTime. "For by fire and by his sword will the Lord plead with all flesh." And for some reason, I just kind of separated that and decided the definition of plead. But it made me confused because the only thing it kind of gives you is like, you know how you knew like pleas in the court case or going up against or speaking for. But then when I just decided to Google plead the flesh just as a whole definition, obviously it's like going up against instead of arguing for all flesh. So then that kind of goes along with like why you would need fire, I guess, if that makes any sense. If you're playing with your flesh, you're going up against your flesh, meaning you're just going up against sin, because we live in a world where it's worldly stuff versus godly stuff. Which would make sense because obviously God can't be around sin, and obviously God doesn't agree with sin or rebuke sin, strong disapproval of, and would want to destroy that, which would make sense with thus being fire and swords and going up against that, and could obviously destroy your sin, which would make sense of why the subsection would be saying the new creation, because obviously if you're getting rid of sin, if you're destroying the sin and all the worldly things that you have, then you become a new creature. That's kind of what it means when you're giving life to God, right? You become new. You become someone that is dying to their flesh, that is dying to their old ways, that is dying to the things that kind of hold onto you or that held on to you in your past. But when you accept God in your life, you're giving him kind of like total surrender is what people say, or the power to get rid of it. How you get rid of sin, you can't do that on your own. God has to, right? So at first I just thought maybe I'm just stupid, right? Maybe I'm thinking about it too much. But then the third verse, the one that I'm on today or whatever, it just kind of says, "They that sanctify themselves and purify themselves in the gardens behind one tree in the midst, eating swine's flesh and the abomination in the mouth shall be consumed together, said the Lord." Reading that all together at once and kind of ignoring the parts that I don't understand at the moment kind of gives confirmation by the first part of the sentence. "They that sanctify themselves and purify themselves in the gardens behind one tree in the midst." So technically, so far what my brain is coming up with from the previous two sentences and the first part of this first verse right now is kind of like, look, the Lord can come down with something that can destroy your sins, and how he moves is quick. The purpose of him coming down is to get rid of the things that he does not approve of, aka sin, right? By fire, the thing that's destroying, and his sword, something that can kill off things, something that's powerful, something that has authority, or his authority. And plead with all flesh, right? Or sin, right? All the bad things that we are doing. He's coming down to get rid of the things, our worldly flesh. And the slain of the Lord shall be many. To me, how I interpreted that, and I wrote it down just because I'm just like, I don't know how to explain how my brain is working right now. I just put, what does it say? The Lord's going up against your worldly flesh. He can kill off what impurifies you, and that's what makes you new in spirit. Because I'm trying to also keep in mind